Shalom, salam, peace be unto you. Welcome back to the Septuagint versus the Masoretic YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to look at Joshua chapter 23. Please ignore the top there. I forgot to update the top heading there. There are 16 verses in this chapter, so this video won't take too long. Starting with verse 1, many days versus a long time. Advanced in years versus stricken in age. That's a continuous difference we notice in these translations. Verse 3, omit. There's an omission of before us. Verse 4, destroyed versus cut off. And that seems to be a significant difference, but it's so common now in between these two translations. I decided not to note that as such, because it is quite common. An omission of boundaries, the word boundaries. Verse 5, our first big difference is destroy versus expel them. So yeah, that is a big difference. He shall destroy them versus Yah shall expel them. So which is it? Until they utterly perish versus drive them out, drive them from out of your sight. There's a big difference as well in this omission. And he shall send against them the wild beasts until he shall have utterly destroyed them and their kings from before you. So that is a big omission in the Masoretic text, to not include that detail. They will be destroyed. Not only that, he shall send against them the wild beasts to help accomplish this. Not only the people, but even their kings will be destroyed. Verse 6, significant difference here. Do you therefore strive diligently to observe and do all things? Versus, be you therefore very courageous to keep and to do all. So one is an admonition, or perhaps a commandment. You do, therefore, do this, basically. Strive diligently to observe and do all things written in the book of the law of Moses. The Masoretic expresses it this way. So, therefore, be very courageous to keep and do all that is written. So I think not so much the first part is the difference, it's more the second part. One is saying, encouraging them to be diligent, to strive diligently, versus to be very courageous in order to keep the law. Not saying it doesn't take courage to keep the law, but the focus is not on being brave. The focus is on obeying diligently, because the law is very detail-oriented. One must be very diligent to not stray or to not miss the mark, perhaps. Verse 7, the names of their gods shall not be named among you. I've heard some arguments saying we can't even say the names of their Elohim, because in the Masoretic it says, neither make mention of the name of their Elohim, nor cause to swear by them. So some people take this literally, saying I can't say other Elohim's names. For example, Baal, they won't say the name. And just as a precaution, I don't say the name anymore of other Elohim. But perhaps this is taking it too far. I'm not sure. Because when their names are named among you, it means you have a relationship with them, that there is some kind of, there is a relationship. There is there are witnesses in terms of your relationship to these Elohim, or perhaps even words that you say that may associate you with these other Elohim. It also says, nor cause to swear by them. Okay, so that was an addition. So I'm just going to note that it was an addition. And we have a significant difference in verse 8, an omission. It says here, you shall cleave to. So cleave to. This is a command. It is not a suggestion. In verse 9, a mentionable, which is a big difference, and the Lord shall destroy them before you, these great and strong nations, versus Yah has driven them out from before you. So one is future, this shall be done, versus it is already done, it's past. And again, destroy versus to drive out. And no one has stood before us until this day, versus no man. So no nation, I think that's what is being implied in this verse, versus no singular person, individual man. Verse 10, has chased 1,000 versus shall chase. Again, future versus, I should say past versus future. Said to us versus promised us. That's in verse 10. Promised us, or promised you. Okay, I think I got that in reverse. It's actually said to us and promised you. Okay, in verse 11, great heed versus good heed. So this seems like such a minor difference, but I'm going to explain it. I'm going to expand upon why I highlight this. It's because when you take great heed to do something, whatever it is, usually that involves taking great care, painstakingly great care, to be very detail-oriented, and to do so with all your might, with all your capabilities. Versus to take good heed could also mean be careful, to take care to do so, and to love Yah, your Elohim. So great care, detail-oriented, doing so with all your might, versus simply just to be diligent. So I think there's more that is entailed when you say great heed versus good heed, in my opinion, at least. Verse 12, significant difference of turn aside versus to go back. To return back from where you came versus to turn aside from the way. You're in the path and you just you no longer follow the path. You're off course. You either go too much to the left or to the right. Mingled versus to go in unto them. Verse 13, a continuous difference of destroy versus drive out. They will be to you snares and stumbling blocks, and nails in your heels, and darts in your eyes, versus they shall be snares and traps to you. So stumbling blocks versus traps, and nails in your heels versus scourges in your sides. So one is on the feet, one is on your ribs. And darts in your eyes versus thorns in your eyes. Neither are pleasant, but darts could be sharper. They could be more like man-made versus thorns being plant. Now people usually will be thinking like a dartboard, where you're going for the bullseye, those kinds of darts. could simply be arrows, could be arrows in your eyes. So yeah, if we're going with that interpretation, then that's even more serious. But nails in your heels versus scourges in your sides, that's an interesting difference there. Verse 14, but I hasten to go the way, in brackets, of death. So that's not actually there. I hasten to go the way. But that is what is implied when you look at the context. And behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth. Let me just read the whole thing. But I hasten to go the way as all that are upon the earth also. Not one word has fallen to the ground. Of all the words which Yah, our Elohim, has spoken respecting all that concerns us. Verses, and behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth, that not one thing has failed of all the good things which Yah, your Elohim, spake concerning you. So, not one word has fallen versus nothing has failed. So, I'm just going to interpret this as when a word has fallen, it means it's no longer true. It's not going to stand. But if nothing has failed, that means everything has come to pass. I'm going to just insert interpretation here and say perhaps even future prophecy. We know not everything has been fulfilled, so that can't be true. But when not one word has fallen to the ground, respecting all that concerns us, everything he said stands true, stands the test of time. It's reliable. But if nothing has failed of all the things that Yah spoke concerning you, well, it's rather similar, to be honest. But I just think the way it is expressed can be somewhat, to have a word fall versus to have a word fail. I just think there's something more poetic when a word falls. But I think that really has to be meditated on, to be honest. And all are come to pass unto you. So that was added. Verse 15, it shall come to pass that as all the good things are come upon us, which Yah Elohim will bring upon you, and then I insert punctuation here, all the evil things, so that's just something I just wanted to read it in two ways. So let's read it the first way. It shall come to pass that as all the good things are come upon us, which the Lord God will bring upon you, all the evil things, until he shall have destroyed you from off this good land. So the reason I insert a punctuation mark, a comma specifically, after the will bring upon you, it's just easier to read and easier to digest it, this sentence, instead of a overly long sentence. Verse 16, our last difference of this chapter, an addition of, then shall the anger of Yah be kindled against you, and ye shall perish quickly from off the good land which he has given you. So that was completely added. It's on the original text. So that's all for this chapter. Thank you very much for your time. May Yah bless you and make your way prosperous. Until next time, shalom, shalom, salam, and peace be unto you. Next video, we're going to wrap up and close the book of Joshua, Joshua 24.